you guys are on board for our admin training. So that's what you're here for, because that's what you will get. Today we're going to go over all of the main functions that you will encounter as an admin. And there are so many things you can do. I might not go into great depth on certain things, and I might go into more depth on others. If you want to stop and go into more depth on something, please just interrupt me and ask me to do so, and I'd be happy to answer your specific question. First, I just want to introduce you to is how you can navigate to your administrative interface. And you'll get there by mousing over courses and groups. And some of you, I know Mike, have already logged in as an admin, but if you are an admin, you will see over here under Managed Accounts, you'll see your account. So you just click on your account name, and it will take you into your admin interface. Now your instructors and your students, they're just going to be seeing this My Courses area and this Current Groups area. They're not going to see that Managed Account section unless they're an admin of some sort. Okay, so let's dive into the admin interface. This is your admin interface, is what we're going to be reviewing and going into depth with today. Okay, one of the first things I like to go over with people, because once you have an understanding of how this part of this works, then everything kind of falls into place. Your sub-accounts. So we'll do it together. It looks like you guys have not set up any sub-accounts or anything. And Mike, this kind of ties into what you're talking about in terms of outcomes. That's just the many things that you can create and set up at different account or sub-account levels. In that, you can set permissions for accounts so that some courses have certain permissions while other courses have different permissions. You can set the statistics for different sub-accounts or groups of courses. You can set rubrics. Really, essentially all of these things, you're going to have the ability to access an account or sub-account level. So let me just go through this with you. How is your college organized? You guys have different colleges, and within your colleges, different departments. Is that it's pretty?
So we essentially 3 colleges: natural sciences, engineering, and social science, humanities, and arts.
I'm going to make a couple of these. Natural sciences. Those. Let's try this again. Okay. And what did you?
Engineering.
And what?
And the social SSHA is probably better. Sciences, humanities, and arts. So SSHA is probably the
Cool. There we go. So social sciences, humanities, and arts. So this is an example of how you can break down sub-accounts. Now, within the natural sciences department, or I'm sorry, college, what are some sub-accounts that might live under there? Another one in there.
Chemistry.
Okay. Okay, we'll just stick with that. That's fine. That's totally fine. Let me just refresh my screen. So the reason we do this is I want you guys to have a visual perspective on how these sub-accounts will work when we actually begin utilizing them. So you can see right now up here at the top at your main institution, this is your main or your root account. Okay, referring to your main or your root account throughout this session today. So whenever I refer to that, I'm referring to University of California, Merced. Okay. You have the ability, once you've created sub-accounts, to dig in a little deeper. For example, if I come here down to biology and I open a new tab, you'll notice that now I'm still at the University of California, Merced, within the natural sciences sub-account, within the biology sub-account. Okay. Typically, I know I'm based upon this right here. It's telling me I'm in the biology sub-account. Okay. I want you to be aware that within these sub-accounts, notice all of these items that are available. Well, actually, all of the items are available at the account level, but they are also available at a sub-account level. So you to have granular control of what's going on in your instance of Canvas. So it's not size fits all, and we understand that. So rather than having to modify and customize all your settings up here and having it trickle down and be inherited by all of the courses, you can now put things up into sub-accounts and set certain settings here for biology that make sense in your chemistry department. Okay? And typically, you'll be able to manage all of these items right here. All of them are settings that will be accessible in each one of your sub-accounts. And we'll have a settings area. Okay. I'm going to refer back to this as we go through training and reference to how the accounts are working. So if you don't understand at any point, just let me know. One thing I want to point out that if I make some changes here at the biology sub-account, it will only be inherited, those changes will only be inherited by courses that live in this sub-account. Okay? It's not going to be inherited over in chemistry, but if there's a setting that I want to employ, that's to be available for all of my natural sciences courses, then I modify or create that setting here at the sciences level, and then it will be inherited by all of my courses at sub-accounts below. So you always want to ask yourself is that I want to do, or the thing that I want to do in Canvas, this I want to affect all of my courses. Okay? If the answer is yes, then up here, and even eventually once you set up sub-accounts, you won't actually have courses just or orphan courses living out here under no sub or under your main account. All of your courses will, or should I say, can be attached to a specific sub-account. And then you ask yourself that question, to which does this apply? If the answer is all of them, then build here. If the answer is, well, it only applies to my science courses, then build it here. So that's to keep in the back of your mind. The next thing
Jordan, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that things will trickle down, but for let's say if a rubric is created at the biology level, can something, let's say a rubric, created there, can that then be adopted at the natural science level? Like, can it be pulled up somehow?
I'm glad, and the answer is no. So if that rubric, however, is created at natural sciences, then biology course, it doesn't mean that it will be there. It just means that biology courses and chemistry courses, or rather these accounts, will have access to that rubric. So it just becomes an option. Whereas when you create, that's if you have something that you want it to be available to biology, but also chemistry, or maybe not chemistry, but another part of your natural sciences, then you build it up here so that it could be accessible by multiple courses in different sub-accounts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Any questions about how the sub-account structure works from either guys? Okay. Nice. So let's jump into our settings now. This is the backbone of your admin interface. So a bunch of these, and if you guys have any questions, again, just stop me. So this is telling you the default storage quota size. This is an example of why sub-accounts can be really valuable. There's certain sub-accounts that are using a lot more data, where sub-accounts don't use near as much of the data allotted. So you can go to respective sub-accounts and modify the default course file quota per account. Users quota is going to be a global setting that you would set here, and it's set right now at 50 megabytes. English, that's good. Specific time. So with all of these things, I'm just double checking with you to make sure you have set the right way. Are you guys planning any enrollment courses?
No, not that I know of.
Okay, at any point you do plan on that. People like to do it for placement courses or other things like that. You would just need to enable that right here. And by doing it, it doesn't necessarily make all of your courses open enrollment. It just gives you that option. So the second step would then be going into the course and turn on that functionality within the actual course. So just do that if you want to do self-enrollment courses in the future. After you guys have this checked, a lot of people forget to check that to prevent teachers from renaming their courses. You don't need to worry about the quotas there. All right, so right here for quiz IP address filters, testing centers or computer labs where students may be required to be in order to take a test or a quiz. Well, if you do, you can set IP address filters so that basically by utilizing this setting at the account level, it makes it so instructors don't need to know IP addresses for the testing centers or the computer lab. All they need to do is find computer lab at 120. Then you have your IP address there. You can use as many of these filters as you want. So it makes it really nice on your teacher when they're designing a quiz or a test. They can just go to the settings and find the IP address and click on computer 120. I want to require my students have to be in that computer lab to take this quiz. The other thing about this setting is this is one of those settings that you can adjust for individual accounts. So natural sciences department naturally might courses. I'm going to come back here to our sub-account. Your course there may naturally be in a certain or a certain location, and so you can set those quiz filters here at the natural sciences level. So that, and it looks like I pressed enter too many times, and that's why we have a bunch of these. But when you create that quiz IP address filter here, it's for the engineering teachers to not have to see all those IP address filters and all those labs in other departments or buildings. Keep that in mind with your IP address filters. Some of these features right here, you got the ability to modify. Some of these you don't. Some of these are settings that and your implementation manager can modify. It looks like they have some of these turned on that are not typically turned on, so I don't see anything to be concerned with there, so you guys look good. Okay, so right here for global JavaScript and CSS includes. Are you guys planning on having your own branding for Canvas?
I think we probably are, yeah.
Okay, so have your own custom branding. I just want you to realize that using this tool, you can have some branding right up here at the top, you know, for your entire institution. So if you build your branding right here, all of the course in your entire institution will appear the same with that same branding. A lot of institutions like the fact that you can create custom branding for different colleges. So the engineering has a certain branding, and you could even down as low as lowest sub-account level and create unique branding between biology and chemistry departments. So to create branding at any one of these sub-account levels, you have to do at the main account level. So in the main account level settings, you would just need to be sure you click on this box that says let sub-accounts have additional includes. So by doing that, you then will make it possible to have this box at the account level. Any questions on global JavaScript and CSS? Okay, anything? Custom links to include in the dialog. So you have the ability up here in the top right corner to add additional links for your students and or teachers to click on when they are in Canvas. So feel free to The ones we provided, these are already there automatically by default, but add your own by clicking Add Custom Help Link. The help link there, and then some subtext for it, and then a link to it. And then you can also define who might have access to that link. If you only want, maybe you've created a student orientation video, or you've linked the students to some documentation about Canvas, you might link to just appear for students. So just check the other options, and then only students would see it. Same with teachers and admins, you can set that up however you'd like. Users will be visible to everyone. Enabled web services, you've got all of those, that's good, and you don't have it so anybody else can create new course. So it looks like you guys have already dug deep into your settings, which is cool because I come into a lot of admin trainings and people like look through a lot of this. So Mike, I'm excited to see that. Notifications, you guys haven't messed with this yet. Basically, when Canvas sends out an email notification, it's going to look like this: Instructure Canvas. So if you optimize this so that your students and your teachers receive something that says you see have something like that to make it more familiar to them than just having it say Instructure Canvas. Okay. Feel free to change your notification settings. Again, that is down here in your settings by clicking on the Notifications tab. So we've got Bill in there, Josh in there. I don't see Brian. Brian, are you going to be given an account, or Mike? Is Brian supposed to have an admin account at some point?
I assume so. That's not my decision. That's beneath.
Well, because I'm going to be Josh's backup, but yeah, that's Benito's call.
Okay. So just so that you're aware, I'm sure Benito knows how to do this. To add account admin, you just click on Add Account Admin, and you type in their name. It actually excites me too because I see that you created a custom role. By default, all users typically will see is account admin, and admin has 100% full access to Canvas. They can do anything, right? But you can create custom roles like this course coordinator. So I'm going to show you guys how to create some other kinds of custom roles before we move on to these other settings, okay? The way to create additional role types for account admins right here is to come up into your permissions. Okay? So let's take it from our settings, take a little breather, and now looking at course level roles, let's switch over and take a look at account level roles. And you'll notice that there is an account admin that has the ability to do, well, everything that you want. But maybe Benito wants Brian only to have some limited access. Maybe your help desk, we're another training for them later on, but maybe desk needs, they obviously need admin access to Canvas so they can do some troubleshooting and look around, but you don't want them to import and manage SIS data, right? You don't want them to do some other certain things like that. So you can add a role, and you might call that help desk. I want you to be aware also, side note for you one more time, sorry. Note up here at the top of my screen that I am logged in at ucmerced.test.instructure.com. So if you guys weren't aware, you have 3 instances of Canvas. Your production instance, which would just be ucmerced.instructure.com. The test instance, which plugs in the word test right there between 2 dots. And then a beta instance, which you just plug in the word beta in between those 2 dots. And basically your test and beta instance refresh every week, take a snapshot of what your system looks like at this moment. You can play in your instance and practice things. It can't really do any damage. So I just wanted to mention to you that these changes I'm making, like them, just realize they're not sticking, and if you don't like something that I've done, just remember that it's going to stay, okay?
Okay.
And you also down here that it's telling you I'm in your test installation. So over here it's telling you that it's reset every week. Okay? So mentioned that earlier. Typically, I mentioned that at the very beginning, but as you guys get release notes for our beta features that are coming out, it's a great place to go and start practicing and becoming familiar with the new Canvas features before your users actually get a handle on of them. Notice that I created a help desk admin. Also notice that when you create a new account admin, zero permissions. You can't do anything. So worse off than a student is even. So you go in here and just click on these links and you can enable them to perform certain actions in Canvas. Okay? Now, the enable and lock is basically saying, now just remember, I have created this extra role called the desk admin. I created it at the account level. Certain type of admin that you wanted to create, and it was only applicable to your natural sciences department. Then go down into that department and create a role there. Or if you have multiple departments, you could up here at the top account, and then the sub accounts will have access to utilize these custom roles. The thing to keep in mind is if you have a help admin at a sub-account level, perhaps, added them, they only have access to a certain sub-account. By using enable and lock with permissions, it will make it so that at any account below, settings will be locked so that any type of admin at a low account will not have the ability to change locked items. So I'll do this as an example. It doesn't role that I do this to. When I set these permissions as locked, if you have an admin that lives or was created at any of these sub accounts, change those items that were locked because they were locked up here. That's our little lock. Just keep that in mind, that you do have the ability to lock them, and those permissions then cannot be modified by sub-account admins. Okay? So that can create additional types of admins. In most cases, when you add another type of admin, most institutions, I see them adding them up here at the account level. Then it's just really easy to utilize them at sub-account levels. Now, sometimes you might have different course level roles as well. You can create new roles here. I have a lot of people who ask me, Jordan, can you prevent students from doing this? Or can you prevent students from doing that? Or I can give my TA access to this part of my course, but they don't have access. The first place you guys will want to go is to permissions with the admin interface. It gives you the ability to look and say, oh, no wonder the student doesn't have the ability to perform that action. The student didn't have the ability to view the analytics page, but I want students to see their own analytics, so enable analytics for students. Okay, so each role that exists within a course, you have the ability to customize and make special permissions for. You might have maybe a presenter that's coming into the course and you want to give them access to design some content, but they're coming in for a short time. Or if that's the case, you can add role types for courses, but the types that you add, you can add what type of role you want it to be, or what role is most similar. So in this case, it's going to be similar to a teacher, maybe. Call this a presenter. Presenter role, now the teacher role is kind of like an account admin. As you can see, they have the ability to do everything. By another role that mimics the teacher role, you can see that it mimics those permissions. Rather than choosing a role like student for my presenter and then having to go in and try and turn all of this on, all I have to do is just go in and manually disable the few items that I don't want this individual to have access to. So that's custom roles in courses. remember that this setting as well, permission setting, is something that can be accessed at sub-account levels. So what that is if you go into biology in that sub-account, you could create a special type of student role or teacher role that only exists for some reason in biology. It's a lab assistant. You could go in and add lab assistants in there. Or maybe your lab assistant would actually be a course level account that you create at natural sciences level, because it's going to be utilized at both sub-accounts. So this is one of those things that you want to consider. Where am I setting these permissions for? Is it a global setting that I want, or do I only want this to apply to certain courses in my instance? Any questions about permissions and how to install that? Josh, Mike?
At the moment.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
In a typical, I don't know, the other universities you work with, how do they typically distribute the permission? Like, is it usually one person for each school at that level, or is it more, I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, what are other schools doing in terms of managing these different roles?
Yeah, what you might want to do is create maybe either department chairs or college or dean, however you call it, or you have a department chair. Okay. And what you do is, typically I will see institutions create these custom roles at the institution level. Once you've created them up here at the institution level, now watch this. If you want to then create an admin or add an admin that only has access to the Natural Sciences College, right? You then and the ability to modify things that are going on in there based upon the permissions that you have set for them at the account level. But what you would do is you would have to dive into this sub-account, Natural Sciences, come to admins, and because it's here, now you select from the admins we created at the institution level, we can say, okay, we want to add our college head here. Okay, so you add it. Now, as an admin to this. So they don't have access to see anything else. When they click on, or when they mouse over courses and groups at the top of their screen, you'll notice that they have a managed account, and it will say Natural Sciences. Okay. Natural Sciences, University of California, Merced. So they take them to this page, and to view statistics for their sub-account. They can run some analytic reports for their sub-account. They can find users. So if they look up a certain user and see how they're doing, or see how they're doing in a certain class, the settings, they can also run other global reports, like under reports, they can see a grade report for all of their courses in their natural sciences account, or they even have the ability, like you at the top level, they can go into their sub-accounts and notice they have two levels of sub-accounts below them. Realistically, these natural science courses won't actually live right here at the natural sciences level. Courses exist on the sub-accounts. Okay? They could dive into those sub-accounts, or maybe then the dean of a certain college or something, perhaps they will be department chairs for in chemistry, and give them access to Canvas for the sake of running reports and viewing student usage data and other things like that. And also, it's giving that permission to a lower level and teaching them the things that I'm teaching you now can empower them so you don't have so much weight on your shoulders. So that by them knowing how to create outcomes that are particular to natural sciences here, and you don't have to create them for them. create the outcomes and rubrics, and now all of the courses below in the sub-account will have access to utilize those artifacts.
Sure.
So does that make sense? I mean, that's the way that I've seen it done. Does that seem like a plausible option for you?
Yes, I think that's helpful. I want to just maybe ask Josh here about how these structures will impact the integration with the SS. Like, I don't know how, like, the structure that needs to come in, and if we have, like, so many levels with it.
It'll be not too much of a problem. It doesn't show us the schools for the course, but I think we'll probably get that. So, yeah.
So what I'm showing you right now is I jumped over to the SIS import section in the admin interface. Okay, within there, there's a link that you can click on, and I kind of jumped out of there fast. But like SIS imports, and Mike, if for your reference you want to just become familiar with the automation that can take place and what kind of things you can pre-populate, and by doing it from the SIS import end, you can really just save yourself a lot of time with organizing everything on the Canvas interface. For example, we've been talking about accounts, right, and sub-accounts. You'll notice a CSV in here called, and I already passed it, called accounts, okay? With CSV, you have the account, a unique identifier as your account ID, so some unique number, and then a parent account ID, and then the name, right? So here we can see that you have a unique identifier, A001, and that's humanities. So that's a sub-account, or that might, yeah, that would be a sub-account. Because the parent account is blank, Canvas knows that falls within your root account. But down here we can see that there is an identifier A002, and that is a parent account ID of A001, which we know is humanities. So English will become a sub-account of humanities. Spanish will also be a sub-account of humanities. So the imports that you send us, the data that you're already sending us, you just need to add a little bit more information to follow this format, and we can pull in, or actually rather, we can assign your courses to live within particular sub-accounts. And you create the account through this CSV. So right here, something that corresponds with that is your courses CSV. So here, regular course, you have the unique identifier for the course ID, whatever the short name is, long name is, and then here's the key. One with your course import is an account ID, and this tells us on which account course should be placed. Perhaps this is going under A002 within the English department. Mike?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I guess, from side, it won't be too complicated by having nested structures for the different levels.
I have a lot of feedback about it being too complicated. In fact, I've never heard someone say, man, we just can't figure this out. I mean, if you're doing imports already, it's just a matter of tweaking a couple extra things to add that additional import of account names and also applying a certain account ID to your individual courses, which typically happens. Something else I wanted to show you there with your SIS import.
If you make an account with Canvas, is that that would be available for the import to use?
That's a great question. So take a look at this. So you can since you only have 3 colleges, that's easy. Have like 20, and then they have just an insane amount of departments under that. So you guys are in a good situation. So you could manually create this natural sciences department. department, engineering, SSHA. And you just right-click on it, or rather just click on it. I like to keep my sub-accounts page open. So you click into one of those sub-accounts, and you'll go to the settings for that respective account. Natural Sciences, to the settings, you'll need ISID. So here you could put in your arbitrary number. Maybe there's something that complies with the structure you have in your SIS. You could place an ID here, and Josh could just include that ID in those course imports that you're doing.
Okay, to know.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Typically, I don't mention that part, so I'm really glad. It sounds like you're the data guy and pulling things in. Does that answer any questions you have, or is there anything still outstanding that you have?
If you're created here, or versus just being in import, is there for the difference? Like,
no, I'm not.
Or does it have to, for example, does it have to include all the sub-accounts every time, where if it makes some and doesn't have them, will they be removed?
I don't think so. Are you manually importing, doing SIS imports, or are you importing them, or doing integration?
Manually, we make a file and go here to the import, the full import.
I would recommend you just look at these different options. So we do a full batch update. It deletes everything. Well, if you don't check these boxes, which you have modified in the system will remain in the system. It remains, so by default, every field in Canvas is sticky. That's what we said. So
okay.
It's going to stick. Now, if you do a full batch update, that will remove the stickiness, right? I mean, depending on the term that you're setting. As it said, this will delete everything from this term, which includes all of the courses and enrollments that are in the file above. In over UI changes, this relates to that stickiness as well. So I think it's this one, clearing the UI changed state. So I think that one is the one that overrides.
Okay, as long as we leave that override alone, we'll be okay. Looks like.
Yeah, if you leave this override UI changes alone, the UI changes will stick.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like you're good there. Do you guys have plans in the future to automate this integration, or are you just going to continue to manually do these imports?
The one we will definitely eventually to an automated.
Well, we're happy to entertain that conversation as soon as you guys feel confident and ready to go with that. So if that's something you'd like to do, just talk to your implementation or a curator, and we want to get some automation done with our imports, and they can point you in the right direction on how to get that started. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And then anything else from your front before we hit to those settings?
Nope.
We were talking about permissions, right? And okay, so yeah, I remember now. Mike had asked, so what would a viable structure look like with having different admins at different sub-account levels? With that? Okay. We'll move on then. From our admins, we're going to jump over to announcements. Now, something that you will see here at the institution level, but you will not see this tab at each of your sub-account levels. It's global only. And this is a sticky message that sits on top of the user's dashboard. So this example, the add or drop date, adding courses or dropping courses this Friday. So I want this message to go out to the students and start reminding them on Wednesday the 13th. So you set these announcements to appear in the future. You can set them to appear at any given time. I'm actually going to make this appear in the past and end it week. Okay, so my dates, but just realize that you can create an announcement now that will sit in a queue and wait, and then at the right moment it will appear on all Canvas users' dashboard. You can choose the appropriate icon that you want to use. I'm going to use that and say don't forget to pay. Oh, this isn't the tuition deadline. That's another good one that I've seen some people use. Don't forget to add or drop classes by Friday. Okay? So highlight that, change a couple things, just make it stand out a little bit. You guys can even throw pictures in here if you wanted. If you want to have some icon or some image to draw more attention, you can do that. So I just did that announcement and I'll show you what it looks like now. So this is a warning icon. You can also use the icons that are available, but this is just an idea. So that clearly stands out, right? So you want to be in how often you choose to use these announcements, because realize that they will be visible to your students, your teachers, and you guys as admins. Everyone will see those notifications. If they see something up there all the time, you bet they're going to start forgetting about it and not even, they'll look over it. They can also click on close when they don't want to see that anymore. That's announcements. Any questions about that? Oh, it says it right here. These announcements should be used sparingly. Okay, so reports. Now, student competency report, which is a report that ties directly to your outcomes. So Mike ties into some of the questions that you were having. Create an outcome here at the institution level, then every course in your entire institution will have access to use that outcome. The nice thing about that for you as an admin up at the account level is you can run a report and see how all students are doing based upon those outcomes across your institution. Pretty awesome. In some cases, though, your outcomes are not going to be the same among, actually in a lot of cases, your outcomes may not be the same among different colleges, right? Natural science is going to have totally different set of outcomes than our SSHA. Dive into one of these sub-accounts, create custom outcomes that relate specifically to the sub-accounts, and then those outcome reports at those sub-accounts at the account level. So this is showing you right here, these reports are not only available up here at the institution level, where we are right now, but they're available at your sub-account level. So students can see, great report. This is an idea of what it looks like. See that it's specifically relating to this learning outcome, and you can see the outcome score of the student here, course name, and all these details. So really powerful report.
I have the report. Does it allow for like an aggregate? Is because I saw the example was more like individual students. What are the options? Can you click on the configure to the right and see what options for to like aggregate? Let's say if I want, there's a set of outcomes. There are 5 outcomes for the entire university, but I want to only focus on one of the 5 in natural sciences. Is that possible?
No, I mean not by clicking a button, but you can run the report, and then because it's in a CSV format, it's really easy to just, when you're in Excel or something, to sort that report based upon a particular outcome, and then just delete all the ones or something if you want to focus on a given outcome.
Okay.
I mean, that's a good question and valid point. There's not a way to run the report based upon the outcomes.
Oh.
We'll check because I'm not 100% sure on that. Of course, we're not seeing outcomes here, but maybe do you have any outcomes that you guys have created? Let me just look in here real quick. I'm pretty sure that you can't, but it's worth create an outcome real quick and we can see. Okay. So come back here. So yeah, I'm fairly confident that you're not going to be able to do it that way. So just a couple extra clicks, right? But that shouldn't be too hard once you're in Excel to store that data. And because we're giving you all of the raw data, you can then sort it in multiple ways, not just look at one specific outcome. Okay, yeah, thanks for asking. So export report's going to be very similar to that. This is showing you all the grades for a particular student. For all students. So you're starting to see that grade export report might be a little crazy. That's all of your students from their entire institution. Whereas look at the value now of if you have some admins who exist down at these sub-account levels. Now a special admin, just maybe a secretary in the biology department, that can go in and run competency reports. They can go in and run their export reports and just do some double checking the grades in Canvas and other grades that you may have. So those reports can be incredibly valuable, not only up here at the main account but sub-account levels as well. SIS export report, this is just probably run this a time or two, but this allows you to export specific files that are needed for building Canvas. So click on the items that you would like, and you use a specific term if you want it as well. I'm just going to use all terms. And once you report, sometimes it will take a long time. So it'll tell you that you'll receive an email once it is finished running. And just so you guys are aware, in your test instance of Canvas, it actually won't send you an email. So just be aware. And it's probably still going to take some time, but once that report is finished running, you've got a little download link there. You can download those old courses. Or I'm sorry, old courses, but the old reports. A lot of provisioning. This is gives all the information needed to in relation to provisioning with Canvas. So if you want to see what's in Canvas and what's going on deep within from the perspective of Canvas, you run this report and you can see what are all the users that exist in Canvas, what are all the accounts or terms, and you can pull a report that has as many or as little of these items as you'd like. I'm going to refresh one more time and see if it pulled us out that SAS export report. Okay, so we can take a quick look at it. And I've got to unzip it. So it zips up all those different files. I'm just going to open up the users, and I can see all of these different users. And obviously it's not going to show you their password, and it tells me the users' names, and the data that's coming from the SIS. Okay. So it's a great way to, once you've done something, to check your work and make sure things exist the way you'd like them to in Canvas. So that's reports, and all 4 of these reports will be available at your institution level and sub-account levels. Another one that I'm not seeing in here, which is typically here, but maybe it's because no one has registered for Google Docs. But if, there is a Google Docs report as well that shows you who's utilizing Google Docs, who has enabled the Google Doc account to work with Canvas. Your internal tools. It doesn't look like you've added any here. Any of you guys played around with the external tools at all?
Yeah, actual production, there are a few like that.
Okay, Joshua, who said that he has as well?
Well, this here.
Mike and Josh, okay. So You guys can just get a quick visual as I scroll down here. These are all different tools. Essentially, it's like in Firefox or Chrome, as you have add-ons or plugins or extensions, however you want to call it. That's really what these are with Canvas. They allow you to add additional functionality into Canvas. So favorites, because there's a lot of public tools out here like Khan Academy, YouTube, Twitter, and what are some other ones like MIT and so TED, lots of really awesome public tools. So this is the one I like to show in my example because this one encompasses many of these other tools. So all you need to do when you want to add one of these, you can notice some of these are subscription-based. If you subscribe to one of them, you can obtain a secret and a key from that you will use to use this tool in Canvas. But all you need to do is grab the click the link, copy the configuration URL, and then go back into Canvas. Another thing I want to point out about these LTIs is as you mouse over them, it's going to tell you where it appears in Canvas. This is appearing in the editor, and then for Khan Academy, that's going to appear in the editor. So if you see a rich content editor, that's where it will appear. For example, is going to appear in the course nav. See the bar that exists over here in all of your courses? Java is going to be a new bar in your navigation. And so you can tell where these items will appear in your course by mousing over them. And it appears based upon where you place the content. So, and all you need to do is follow these few steps. Add the external tool. What I like to do to simplify a little for me is change configuration type by URL. Then I paste the configuration URL right away. Next thing you do is give it a name. I'm going to call this one the Public Collections tool because that's what it is. And then for consumer key, you need to type something in there. It doesn't have to be a specific key. And you don't need a shared secret, so we can leave that blank. And then we save the tool setting. Sounds like having a party next to me here. So we have our public collections tool. What I want to show you is how this is out. Because this tool, this public collections tool, is added at the institute level, it's available to any teacher within my institution. Now this is on the test instance, so don't get scared, Mike, that I'm actually giving this tool one, but it would be something to be scared about. It's an awesome tool that you probably would like all your to have anyway. So I'm just going to one of these courses to show you if the instructor, let me come to, I'm just going to go to the syllabus page. If I edit any of their pages, they have this rich content editor with all these awesome tools, right? Anytime there's external tools and it says that it will appear in the editor, this is where it is referring to. So let's say I want the students to watch my introduction video to the course. What is this? Grammar. So I'm going to click on this public collections. Now, what this tool does is it searches all those other public, most of those other public tools from the external tool page that we were just looking at. So I'm using one of my YouTube videos, and let's say that I've recorded myself and I've already put it on YouTube. I just use it for my introduction every year for this course, Intro to Grammar. And intro. So that's my grammar video. So just do that. Have it like this. It makes it easy, so you don't have to leave Canvas. You can do all your work right from within Canvas. So that's the value of those tools. They can be really nice. I'll just my screen and show you what that might look like after Instructure has used it. Take a quick drink. So I'll send that video right on their screen, and on the button, the video. So that's external tools. Any questions about how I added that, or any specific questions about a specific tool?
General question. So with the external tools, if you place them at a sub-account level, they'll be able at that sub-account level and below, above that. So, okay. So you can let's say an external tool at the course level, and it would only be available for that course, not let's say at the college level.
I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because so if you were to create the external tool at natural sciences level, which sometimes is really good to do that, because you might have a tool that's applicable only to science, and none of the other teachers will use it. But it's really nice of you, admin, to do sorts of things for your instructors, so that it's already done for them, and they don't have to know how to do this, right? But that tool will apply to every course that exists in this sub-account and sub-accounts below. So you have the ability to set account level or course level external tools. So as you go to a course, like now I'm looking at this grammar course, and I jump down to the settings within this course. Notice I have an external tools link within the course as well. Okay?
Gotcha. Thanks.
One can click on that link to go out and see that page of all the tools that we have available, so they can add them into their instance. Okay. So this is our fun discussion on the settings that you guys have in Canvas. Now take a look over at the right side of the screen. Just quick tools that you have to navigate to different parts of Canvas and find specific things. You can quickly find a course, quickly find a user. These probably have already been Josh's best friend as he's looking for information that he's pulled into Canvas through his imports. But as you guys get into troubleshooting and trying to figure out weird things that may be going on or something, you'll utilize these tools often. So I want to know that we don't just place these quick links and quick tools right here in your settings, but watch this. If I click on the Courses tab on the left side of the screen, what do we have? Options. Okay. We also have some additional options, which is really nice. Quick access to our analytics. Do that so that right when you log into your admin interface, you have quick access to find any course. Once you guys really get going and have all of your courses here in Canvas, this page is going to be really long. You might not see all of your courses on one page. When you get to that point, it'll be this will be the first place that you go to try and find a course. Another nice thing is if you guys are utilizing terms, you can filter your courses by terms. So I only want to see the courses that exist for spring 2013. You're looking back at an old course that a teacher has offered, and it was 2 years ago. So you find an old term by searching there, and it will search for that course and try to find under which you're filtering.
About the of these courses, how long typically does Canvas keep these terms are we talking about before you start archiving or backing up stuff?
I don't know the answer to 100%, so I'll find out for you. But as far as I've heard, I believe that Canvas will keep them indefinitely. So a lot of institutions eventually will just want to delete them out of there, like after maybe a year or 2 years. But I have had institutions that say we want to keep it forever, and so it's understanding that it will stay in there indefinitely. But let me just pause here for a second. I'm going to take a quick note and I'll follow up on that for you. Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Just to give you some perspective, I think we need to have as long of a time period as possible because of our assessment accreditation processes for accreditation, and I think 5-7 year periods, and that's when a lot of we need to be pulling from sort of the last 5 to 7 years of coursework and things like that. And so that's something, that's sort of important to us.
Looking at having it at least in there for 7 years to be safe, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think that you're not going to have a problem with that. I will double check though and see what we can find for you. Thank you for asking. And so it actually ties in very well to our next discussion, which is on terms. So if you guys are okay with me bouncing around, this is just what we've found the best way to present these things to you in is kind of just building one thing upon another. So you've done courses in Canvas. You placed those courses under specific sub-accounts that make most sense. Now, another level of organization, kind of like the sub-accounts, allow you to go in and you can just look at courses that relate to biology, or just look at your natural science courses. It goes with terms. Terms gives you another way to filter courses. On that courses screen, you saw that you can filter by terms. Some of you even may have noticed when we were looking at reports that you can run reports based on course in terms. I'll show you guys how these work and explain it a little bit, and you guys can decide the best way to run terms for your institution. Looks like you have a spring 2013 term in here. Do you have a summer term as well? And do you have any idea when that starts about?
Probably the 27th or something around there.
Of May?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll say it goes till July. I don't know. I didn't follow any certain convention, but Canvas is awesome, and it just knows that even if I put in JUL 15DH, it knows what I'm really talking about. So you put in your dates. Now, this is another thing that you can do from your SIS imports, Josh. So the ability to import term dates. So if you put this in your SIS already, check out the SIS import file for terms. Okay. Now, import term dates, or you manually do it, all it's going to do is add a term start and a term end date. But notice for students, teachers, TAs, and designers, everybody in the course, they're not going to they will be given access to their course. So this is some things to keep in mind. You're probably going to want to give your teachers additional time. I don't send me a chat or something. Okay, what you guys need to keep in mind is after you've done an import or manually created a term, you need that term and add some custom permissions. Otherwise, your teacher is going to have access to the course the same day students get access, which typically probably is the best choice. So if you want to give teachers access ahead of time, maybe you want to give them access a month ahead of time. So let's say April 20th. We give them access and we want to give them additional extended access to July, let's say August 15th. That's to get everything done. Okay. So let me explain what some scenarios that will help you understand how these terms are working now. What it means is that teachers will now have access to get into this course and they start developing and creating and designing, doing everything that they need to do to prepare and get this course ready for delivery on 27th. So any course that has summer 2013 attached to it, basically students will not be able to participate in the course until May 27th. Courses is that a course needs to be published in order for students to have access to. I was going to show you that course, but it's already been published. So let me come back here. One in my just I just muted you, so feel free to unmute yourself when you need to come back on for a question. I was just hearing your computer as you were typing. So what you'll notice here is that, or I was going to tell you is, if an instructor publishes their course, let's say on May 25th, a couple days before the 27th, even though it's published time, students have only read-only access until May 27th. So for 2 days, they have access to the course, but they don't have read-only access. If the teacher were to publish the course here after the May 27th, then either the term, or the course uses this term, and the term opens on May 27th, because the course isn't published, students will not have any kind of access, not even visible access to the course. They will see that they're enrolled in a course, but they can't actually go in until the course is published. Now the students, after July 15th, because this date is inherited by all of the below, teachers, students are given read-only access beyond the 15th. 15th is their last day to access the class and participate and submit assignments or do anything. Now, instructor, on the other hand, will have access to the course way before, on April 20th. They can get their course ready and in order. And then August 15th, so they're going to have an extra month to get their grades in and do everything. And after August 15th, they still have access to their content in the course. They can still look back at any information that they want. They can't go and change grades. They can't change anything that's taken place in the course. Another thing to keep in mind is if they're teaching that same course in a new semester, they will be able to pull over all of that content, all of that information in terms of course setup and creation. They're not going to pull over their enrollments and who was in the course or the assignments that students submitted, but they can pull over all of the course content. So that's how these terms are working. I do want you guys to understand this is kind of taking things to another level of depth. So I won't touch on this too deep unless you guys ask me for more details. Yeah.
We have like different sums with different start dates. How would I deal with it in here? Like,
yeah, you could create those as different terms like this. That would probably be the
like they're listed on that page that I linked.
Okay, awesome. What I would do is I would just create these 3 sessions.
I'd have start 2013 A, 2013 B. Okay.
Not applicable, right? So yeah, that's what I probably would do. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Josh. Something else that I get a lot of people to say, well, Jordan, what about what if students need additional access, right? What if students need to access this course beyond July 15th, but because the course is tied to this term, students, there's no way around it, right? Well, no. Actually, at the course level, you go in, and I want you guys to be very clear on this. Term dates are set at the account level. Actual course delivery dates can override term dates. So even though this course is utilizing spring 2013 or summer 2013, the teacher, if they check this box, if this box is not checked, these dates do not matter. Okay? But if they check this box, the teacher has the ability to customize their own dates. So maybe the teacher does. You remember this example I gave? Maybe the teacher wants students to have access on May 25th, where the class begins. So they go into their course and say, May 25th. I want to have the students have access ahead of time. Also extend the dates if they need to, so the students have additional time. So and it ended July 15th, so let's say it ends July, or even until July 20th. Can do that. Now, there's a few, let's say that the teacher doesn't do anything about the end dates. They leave the end dates as they are, so that the end date is pulling in from the term, whatever that term was. But some instructors or admins will say, well, we have students who have an incomplete or they do not finish a course, they need additional time, but it's only a few select students. What do you do then? That's where you can utilize sections within a course. Okay? So it looks like somebody's been playing around with those sections in here, which is kind of cool. But you have something like incomplete, an additional section. Click on the link to go into that section. I could set specific dates in the section, for this particular section. So I give the students till July 20th. While the rest of the course ends on the 15th, I'm going to give these students until July 20th. Okay, and I could also put the start date, or maybe it doesn't really matter when I started here. It does matter. So, I mean, you'd obviously want to make that falls within your parameters. What I was suggesting about it doesn't matter is maybe you want to make this just extend beyond those 5 days. So this could actually start on July 15th when other ones end, or you could have this start when the actual course itself begins, which was what, May 20th or something. Okay. So have to check this. Users can participate during these dates. And then what we need to do is, since we've created a section, think of it as sections can override course dates, and course dates can override. So the instructor has the ability to go in and say, okay, I want to give Ariel some additional access. So I'm going to edit sections for Ariel, and I'm going to enroll her in the incomplete. I think I called it incomplete. And it might take too long. Did it show there? Oh, I don't know why that was taking so long. So I find that section that I just created, and now what I've done, I don't need to remove this student from the other section. They can still be in that section. What I'm doing is saying that Ariel is a part of my incomplete section. And so you see the two sections right here. Ariel, and else I grant that additional special access, we will be able to access my course a little bit longer. Helpful?
Sections don't necessarily correspond to actual course sections, but are just arbitrary groups where students can be assigned.
Yes. It's an arbitrary. It's basically a roster. It's a list of names. Yeah, you're right. We do functionality in Canvas as of Saturday, where you're able to have varied due dates for sections. So that could be something that you think about in the future of if you have a course that has 3 sections, rather than having 3 different courses, typically this is the way most institutions will do it, is that each of those courses will have its, or each of those sections will have its own course. But the way Canvas works now, we allow you to have different due dates for your different sections, which is actually referring to this. You have the exact same assignments for all 3 sections, but then you can have custom due dates for each of those sections. A new feature that we just added on Saturday, so that's something that you guys could consider in the future, or maybe try out and roll out with a teacher or 2 and see if that works out well for them. Option. So yes, an arbitrary list of names, and you can customize that. Some people do use it for in terms of sections. So, our discussion on terms. Any other questions about term dates? Something about is these end dates. Because you're going to keep your courses for a long time. To avoid you the manual hassle of having to go in and conclude courses, by utilizing term dates, it automatically concludes for you on those dates I've highlighted here. It just goes into basically an archive state where people can't modify the course anymore, but it's still there for reference.
Can we so that the teachers have indefinite access?
Yes, absolutely. You would just do something like this. Now you make it be from whenever to whenever, but you could do this. You could come here and say August 15th, something like that, and that would essentially give the teachers indefinite access.
Just double maximum life person.
Right. Exactly. And then you can't go wrong there. So that is your terms. Okay, so authentication, it looks like you guys have got that all set. Are there any questions that you've had in that process or things that you need to report back to your implementation manager?
I think questions, but he's not here, so.
Okay, pass those on if he does. So it looks like you guys have faculty journal. That's not something we typically talk about in this training, but since I will mention it to you. Faculty journal basically allows you to have one consistent place or space where instructors can make comments about a given student, and then other faculty members will have access to see the global comments about any given student. So for example, if you were to go and check out the users in one of the courses like I'm doing, we could check out Sherilyn here. And once we Sherilyn's account, access to the faculty journal for Sherilyn. Click on the journal, and we don't have any entries. But a teacher could say, something and place a note in there just so other teachers know, or just any kind of comments that they want to make publicly visible. So the big thing to understand there, and that you need to make sure you pass on to your faculty, is that when they create a new entry, that is a global entry for everyone to see. I'm pretty sure it is also dated. Yeah, it is dated. So that information is visible for everyone to see. Sorry, all of the faculty, and you guys as admins will have access to it as well. So faculty journal in a nutshell. A couple other things I'll point out before we go into items. You may have noticed that I've pointed out this already to you, the View Analytics. You can access this View Analytics link for statistics. So I'll point that to you. Again, your courses screen, which is what you see right when you log into Canvas, or you can see it under the statistics page. Statistics page is a really cool place for you to see all what's going on in your account or sub-accounts. So again, sub-accounts, it can be really nice. You can go in and see how much storage space your sub-accounts are using, or how courses exist there, how many teachers or students do you have in that sub-account. Okay? So we're not seeing any of those stats right here, but this is typically where you'd see your stats on this page. And then we have some recently logged in users, which is cool. We can see when they logged in. But let me take you on a quick trip into our analytics. Analytics can be viewed at multiple levels, kind of like the external tools. Remember how you can add those at the account or levels or course level? Same thing with analytics. Here we're looking at global analytics for the University of California, Merced. So we're seeing general activity in Canvas, activity by category. What are people spending most of the time doing? It looks like they're spending a lot of time on wiki pages, other page views, and discussions, and some announcements. So you get what your teachers are doing in their courses, and then you also can see grade distribution overall. If you want a little bit more specific, you can go back here to the account list, remember? And you look at those same analytics analytics for any given sub-account. So you want to see maybe analytically how biology is doing in comparison to your chemistry department. You can make some comparisons by looking at those analytics. Oh man, we're getting a lot more participation or activity in our chemistry courses online, or rather in Canvas. And so what do we do in our biology courses to get a little bit more participation? So that would be really nice and utilize that sub-account levels. Another thing you should know is that the same analytics, amazing analytics, can be found at your course levels as well. Into this course homepage. So page within a course, notice I'm in a course now, I'm not in the admin interface. We can use the course analytics. And with this, I'm going to see the same thing. It's not globally. I'm talking just about activity within this course. I have some really nice graphs. So a teacher, really what you want to see here is all green. We're seeing a which is no bueno. Over here, green is telling us that it's on time, saying that we have some missing assignments. Yellow is meaning the assignment was late. So we have everybody did this one on time. Now, this is not a good example because of the amount of people in this course, or actually the lack of people in this course. And then we have grades over here on the right. We can see the grade distribution with the whisker plot. See in a course is a list of all your students' names down here. And it's make sure there's even a picture next to them if they added their profile picture. So it's really clean and easy to read. You can have page views, which means that a page has loaded in Canvas. Participation means that they have done something. They've submitted an assignment. They've participated in a discussion or a quiz, submitted a quiz, right? All different types of participation. And then assignments is showing how they're doing on specific assignments, on their assignments overall, and their current score overall. So this is really nice. You can sort this list and see who is participating in my class. And once you sort this list, you can click on their name right over here, and that takes you even one step deeper into analytics, and it will take you into actual user analytics. To get there is by going to people within a course. Notice the list of your people. You click on the analytics bar next to any individual user's name. This is what you'll see. Okay. Now we're looking at analytics for just this one student. We can see how they're doing. What's their activity like? Are they turning their assignments in on time? And it looks like 2 out of the 4 assignments were all missing. So that's not cool. Now I want to do something about it. I want to talk to Ariel. So I come up here to the top left, initiate a conversation with her, and do a message and tell her, hey, what's going on here? What happened? Why are you missing all of my assignments in my course? Okay, that is your individual student analytics, and teachers can bounce from student to student very easily by using this bar up in the top right. I also tell you that using analytics at the account level, there's ways that you can measure them. We are looking at the main account now. We can do comparisons, maybe from term to term. You can say, well, how did we do in spring 2013 versus summer 2013? Okay? So you compare the analytics from term to term. So this is another valuable piece of why it's nice to have your term set up in Canvas. It gives you an additional level of organization. All right. So we've talked about most of the settings that you guys can access as admins. Okay. We've talked about settings, imports, authentication. We don't need to go over. We've talked about terms, courses. Actually, there are a couple of things I want to point out to you about users, permissions, faculty journal, and sub-accounts. Look at this. We have 4 more items to really go over. These 4 items I saved for last because these are what we call your shared resources. Shared resources meaning you can create them one time, and because they're created up here at the admin level, they become shared. And they can be utilized by courses at any of the sub-accounts below. So huge thing that all of these have in common. 4 items are also items that can be found at an individual course level. So I usually ask people the question, these are course level settings. Why is it important, or why do you think we're wasting administrative space right here, giving you guys access to course level content? But I think you guys are aware of the answer to that at this point, and it's because when you create something at an account or sub-account level, these items become available to your sub-account users or courses. So I'll show you in just a moment. What are you guys about users? You're going to find out a little bit more about this in your support training, but it's easy to find a user from that other page. You can click on Find Users. Once you're here, you just click on a user's name, or again, you can click Find a User. I'm not going to go into this now, but if you guys want to create accountable groups of all your faculty members so that your faculty can message each other, or there's lots of different ways that you can create groups, but maybe student events or other things like that you might utilize the groups for, but groups that supersede groups that exist in a course. And courses are kind of down at the lowest level, but you can create groups at an administrative level. Can work together, or instructors can work together on content and information. So it's a powerful place to work together with people and collaborate. So if you want to find out information about an individual, just click on their name after search for them. It takes you to their profile page where you can see some basic information. I can see that this individual is enrolled in a couple of courses. In 2013, all basic information I need to know. I also see that they have not participated or even in Canvas. They have 0 page views. But I could see that list down here at the bottom, which is really nice. If you need to export it, you can. Notice also here that you have access, you as admins have access to the faculty journal. Clicking on their user screen. And lots of little details here. This is coming in from Josh's work on the SIS imports, so we can see that they do have an SIS ID associated with their name. That's their unique identifier in Canvas. Another thing I want to point out here is the Become option. If I were to do some troubleshooting or see Canvas from the perspective of Sheena, I just click on that Become button. It asks me if I want to masquerade as the user. Click on Masquerade as the user. It appears as if I am Sheena May Aguilar. So now you can see that Sheena doesn't have access to her 2 courses. Probably they haven't started yet. Or either they have not been published or the term hasn't opened, or both. And so they have opened and Sheena has access to her course. This will say courses up here. So this is giving me the perspective of what Canvas looks like from the perspective of this individual. So you guys might have teachers that are saying, or instructors that are saying, hey, well, I can't do this, or I'm not seeing that. And so you actually dive in and look at Canvas from their shoes to confirm whether or not that specific thing is available to them. Okay? So that is your users. That's what I want to show you guys about users. Before we jump into those shared items, I just want to ask if there's any questions about anything that we've discussed so far. Not anything. Let me see the chat. Oh, it's muted. Yeah, give me a second. Mike, you are unmuted.
Okay. I do have a question about the general. Like, is there a permission thing in terms of who can generate reports for whatever, whether it's outcomes or rubrics or grades or something? So is that permission level?
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the report I showed you down here at the beginning?
it's those as well as the one that you just showed us about the analytics. Is that available? Is that or is that available just regardless of permission?
What I was just showing you down at the well, obviously the analytics that I was showing you at this course level, these are available to your instructors. They're also available for you as admins, but you have to dig down into the instructor's course to those analytics. So they're, the analytics that you guys have are not as specific for your account level or your sub-account level.
I see.
You can run those analytics that I showed you at the course level. Your analytics are going to be up here, so you can run them for your entire institution, or you can run analytics here at this level, and it gives you those 3 categories, or you can run analytics down there at biology and see what that looks like. So here's an example. Well, obviously the worst example because we don't have any data, but showing us within the biology sub-account and you have these 3 categories. It's not going to show you specific students and users at this level of analytic.
I think the question was, is the ability to view reports, is that controlled by role or permission?
I think so, yeah. We can take a look at that real quick. Yes, I'm fairly confident in that. View analytics pages. Look,
okay.
Everybody at the course level, students, I set it so students can view analytics. I think the default is actually that they can't, yeah. So students will be able to, by default, unless you wanted them to, but instructors would be able to, as you see right here, teachers. Institutions where they turn it off for whatever reason, but you guys do have the permission to do that however you like, either way. Okay? Thing, a little pro tip, I'm pretty sure that you have the ability, if you go in here documentation for the SIS imports, you can also, or let me see, I think if you go to API actually, api.instructure.com, that takes you, I'm going to throw this in the chat for you guys. And I muted you back in the day when I did that.
No.
Okay, so, okay, here it is. Turn that off. Whoa, come on. My Excel is getting in my way. Okay, so notice analytics over here. You can use our API to get data out of our analytics. So get department level grade data, get department level stats, get course level assignment data, course level summary, and to find out more details on what these API calls can do, you just click these links. It takes you down the page to that appropriate place. So, for example, if you wanted to get participation for users and how they're participating within a course, there's returns, page view hits, and participation numbers grouped by day through entry or entire history of the course. So the API, if you guys are ready, like I said, you can manually check those reports per individual course, but if you wanted to pull out some global information and pull out more data instead of just viewing the fluffy analytic charts, you use the API to pull out analytic data more in a more raw format that you can get more details on. Okay? Are you planning on utilizing the API at all for any part of Canvas?
I think that's a distinct possibility.
Yeah, it's just like external tools. It takes you to another level, gives you a lot more freedom and a lot more ability to accomplish more things more easily. Maybe it's not more easily, but once you get going with it, it can be really powerful for you. Okay, So let's end with these 4 shared items: outcomes, rubrics, grading schemes, and question banks. Outcomes. You guys can create the outcomes at the institution level. You can also create outcome groups. The thing that you want to do before you create any outcomes is, like I said at the beginning, ask yourself the question: is the outcome, or actually, who does this outcome relate to? Does it only relate to courses in chemistry? If the answer is yes, then the outcome down here in chemistry, because courses would have access to that outcome, and it's just clutter and takes up more space for them. So if the answer is yes, everyone in chemistry will use this, but people in biology will as well, then you probably want to bring the outcome here. But ask the question again: is it only natural sciences that utilizes this outcome, or will it be everyone? And you just go a level higher. So you always kind of start out with the lowest common denominator and work your way up. So actually building an outcome, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to build an outcome up at the account level so you guys can see how this works. So you can create outcome groups. I'm going to comprehend. Now, are you, on the academic side of things, do you have an idea of what some of the outcomes are that you guys have for your institution?
Well, I can tell you our campus, we have, like, for example, communication. Those are sort of campus-wide outcomes. Critical thinking, we have creativity, I forget the exact terminology. So these are sort of campus-wide learning outcomes, which are in the school and at the course level. So. Cool.
So what I've done here is, in a really bad way. Delete this outcome group. Okay. And I'm going to delete this outcome as well. Okay, so I come back here to the root level and create a new group and call it communication. And what was the one that you said? What I did is I created another outcome group, but I created it within a group. So this is what we call nested outcomes. You can have as many levels deep of this as you would like. So you need to think of a structure that works best for your institution. Maybe it's having it by department up front, or maybe it's having those general categories like you have here, and then within comprehension, you're going to have a couple of different groups below that you could have. So the thing with this is, if you're trying to get your outcomes established and it's not very well, just talk to someone over here at Instructure, and we can work with you to help you get them set up in the most effective way. Comprehension, we could have different groups of outcomes, and then maybe in group 1, that's where we actually place our outcomes. So rather than creating a new group again, this time I'm actually going to create an outcome. Creating outcomes is very simple. Now this was in which group? Comprehension. So I'm going to go back into group 1, and we'll add the new outcome and say reading comprehension. Okay. You can add as many rating levels as you need to for this. The key thing to understand is where your mastery level is. So while this might be giving the students still some points, they don't master it unless they hit this threshold right here, which is at 3. Does that make sense? Okay. So for anything 3 or greater, but then student competency report that we talked about in your setting is going to be really cool, because it will show you where your students are falling. Where's the mean average of students are falling with their mastery? Are people falling generally around 3, or is it lower, even higher? So that's the rating scale that you can use for your outcome. simple. Let's see. Okay, so you can add additional outcomes in there. Probably not even real, but I'm just going to put it. Okay, so presentations in their course, and create any of these levels as you want. Notice I just click on that, the little insert at any of these levels, and I can add additional rating levels. And I'll click Save. So there's the outcome. That's not very good because I didn't add definitions for each. But I want to illustrate to you that's how you can add outcomes. Okay? And by back here, it's going to take me all the way back to the front, and now go into my different folders and see the outcomes that I've created. Now, let me come into this course that we have. I'm just going to change this into a grammar course, but for the sake of our examples right now, I'm going to adjust this into our sub-account. So ask me, Jordan, what if we've already imported a bunch of courses and we want to assign them under a sub-account? Go into the course itself, find us, go into the settings, course details, change the department to the appropriate sub-account. I'm going to place this course under the biology sub-account. I'm going to throw it back under spring 2013 where there's actually some things going on. Okay, so now that those outcomes have been created up at the account level, at the course level, an instructor would have the ability to utilize the course way down at the bottom, right? But because the outcome was created at the institution level, the students will have access, or I'm sorry, the instructor will have access to use that outcome. What they can do is go into their outcomes area in Canvas, and they got outcomes. A new outcome, sorry, it's right here. They can find outcomes. So we'll find outcomes and look at the account standards that exist that you guys have set up at the top level for them. And I need to wait for it. And mine is not opening right now. Let me just refresh my screen. Huh, that's not coming in. Those should be available for those instructors to pull in because they were created up here at the root account level. Let me make a note real quick to follow on why that's not working. Maybe it's because I don't have any rubrics yet. We our rubric this assignment. So an important thing for you guys to understand about outcomes is that an outcome can only be administered through a rubric. So it can stand alone and it doesn't have to have an outcome in it, but the rubric is how you administer your outcomes. So the outcomes will live within a rubric. Right? So this is what a rubric looks like, pretty similar. You'd have the rubric name, and then create as many criterion as you'd like for this. Let's add 3 criterion. Okay, I'm going to add descriptions or longer description. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can add as many rating levels as you want by clicking on those double arrows. So now we've got a rubric created. Next, I have the ability to find outcome criterion. This is how you can pull in outcome criterion into your rubric. Now it's not letting me pull in the outcome criterion for my course, so I think it might have something to do with the fact that this is a test instance, but it really should work. So I'm just going to create the rubric. Now, one thing that you guys can do with rubrics is, let me come back up here to our main account. And sorry, because that's not working, it kind of screws things up a little bit for my demonstration here. So I'm going to add a rubric, and this exact same thing as adding a rubric at a course level. You just add it at the account level or one of the sub-account levels. So your title, add as many rating levels as you want and as many criterion as you want. We'll call this account level. Created. An outcome at the account level. We've created a rubric at the account level as well. Let's see. If I go to this screen, I can find another rubric, and it will locate the rubric that I have in my course. Look, I am enrolled as an instructor in another course. I would also see my other course names listed here. On any of the links in this first column, show me the rubrics that exist in that course or organization in this column. So watch. Click on University of California, Merced, and there's a rubric that we just created up at the account level. So the instructor could just click on this link and pull in, by clicking use this rubric, pull in the rubric that I have designed for them at the account level. Okay, pull in rubrics and outcomes. One more thing with our outcomes. I wanted to go into one of our sub-accounts. Let's go into biology. I think that this may be why it's not being pulled in. So with biology sub-account, notice there's our one course that exists in there. I'm going to come into outcomes here. Outcomes for this sub-account. So I can find outcomes, search the root account, but because nothing seems to be working for me. So test this out on your end and let me know if the find rubrics is not working. I'm going to make another note here.
Sure. Test it on my end, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that kind of kills the climax where I get to show you how cool it is that you design the outcomes, and then the instructors, all the way deep down at the course level, they just come and edit their rubric, and they find outcome criterion, and then they have a list right here of all the different outcomes, so they can see their account level. They just click on level, and it breaks down another level. And then they can see those different folders that you've created, your communication outcomes, collaboration outcomes, and all the other outcomes. Open it, and another folder or another thing appears. And then here they see all of the individual outcomes. So then click on this one, and I want to use this, and then it automatically will place an additional field like this in the rubric. And a little icon next to it so that you can see the difference between an outcome and a regular part of the rubric. But it makes it really nice for the student and the teacher to see, okay, I'm being graded on these items, and here's the outcome upon which I'm being graded. The ability to choose not to use the outcome for scoring. So rather than using it for scoring, it's really more for accreditation or just for reporting purposes. So that the teacher is administering the criterion based upon what the actual assignment's all about, but additionally they're just throwing in some additional assessment for analytic purposes and for reporting purposes to mastery of their students based upon your outcomes. Okay, is outcomes rubrics, grading schemes and question banks we don't go into a lot of time with. Basically it looks like you guys have already set yours, and I'm glad to see this. You've set different grading schemes. It doesn't have to be letter grades. You can have numbers, you can have letters, whatever you want it to be. And we have some examples of different grading schemes. At the course level, again, once those grading schemes have been created, you can go to settings for a course, and edit settings, and then utilize those grading schemes. So right here we can see that we want to enable course grading scheme, view the grading scheme. Let's say that we want to do this. We want to do the satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So that convenient, whenever you guys see that magnifying glass, that is just telling you that you can grab content from another location. So we click magnifying glass and look at this. Here are all of the grading schemes that were created by my institution. So you can come in and say, okay, I want to use that satisfactory or unsatisfactory scale, pass or not pass, and use that grading standard. My grading book in this course will be based upon the grading scheme. So that's
the updates on your desktop anymore.
Yeah, same here.
time.
There we
I'm
go.
sorry, guys. As you go to course settings and you click on the course, there's a button right there that says update course settings, or where is it? Course details. And right here, you can see edit or enable course grading scheme. So check. Now course grading scheme. What this did show just a moment ago was this. It was the default grading scheme, which every course will have. But then the instructor has the ability to click on that magnifying glass. They see all of the grading schemes that have been provided for them. So I use Joshua's grading scheme that he's created here. Use that grading standard. Click done. So what I'm mentioning is that now, based upon that grading scheme that I've set, the grade book will be graded based upon that scheme. Last thing that falls in line with these shared resources is your question banks. You guys importing question banks so that multiple instructors within multiple courses will have access to them?
That's a possibility.
Okay. So your instructors know that these things are possible so that they're not having to double do the work. You know, you're working closely with the instructors as they begin designing courses, and as you guys get started, try to familiarize themselves with this information. Ask them the questions. Hey, are you building any rubrics? Yes? Okay. Will any of the other instructors in your department, your biology department, would any of them use this rubric too? And they might say, oh yeah, we all use this rubric. Okay. Would anyone in the physics department use it? Oh yeah, definitely. And so you just ask as many questions as you can. The more you find out, the more you guys can see what you can do for them at the admin level. But any question banks, really simple. I'm just going to call it questions, and then click on the link, and that takes you into your question bank. So now what you do is add questions to the bank, like you would add questions to a quiz in Canvas, which I will spare you the details on because it's a lesson in and of itself. But once you've created this question bank, I'm going to edit the bank details. Question bank. Okay. So take this question bank, and I just want to show you how an instructor could utilize this in one of their courses. Okay. So when we come to the course, we're going to hop into quizzes, and I'll show you this real quick. All right. So an instructor creates a new quiz. They've created a new quiz here under their assignments. Either way is fine. What are the details on this quiz? They have all these details right here, all the settings. So my suggestion is as you guys begin building quizzes, is click on all of the boxes, and you notice more boxes appear when you click on certain boxes. It's just blown up with options. So as you click on the more familiar you can become with what really all of your options are. Okay? This is the instruction for the quiz right here. So these are details that a student must know before taking the quiz. They drop into questions, and you can add new question groups or find questions. So if you grab a question bank, you can find questions. What this will do, I can find questions, is looking for question banks that exist. The instructor can create their own question banks, or they can grab question banks you have created for them. So where's my question banks rock? That select all the questions and add them to my quiz. What that's doing is just adding a bunch of questions into the quiz. Now, if you want to actually link your question to a quiz so that if the question bank changes, it also changes. then you can utilize the question group. So click on Add a new question group, and here is your option to link to a question bank. If you click, you're going to see the same thing, all of those question banks. And you just click on, now notice I see that there are 3 questions in this question bank, so I'm going to click on that and set bank. Now it's telling me pick how many of those questions. So let's say instead of 3 it was 30, and I might only want to pick 5 of those 30 questions, and I want each one to be worth 5 points. Okay? So in this case, I'm actually going to pull all the questions from that bank because there's only 3 questions in there. But the cool thing about this, guys, is that now if you update that question bank, because it is linked to this quiz, basically what happens is when the student clicks the button that says take this quiz, it is what is in the question bank at that very moment. So that way you can keep your question banks and your quizzes up to date. So the question banks. Now, are there any questions about any of these shared items that we topped off our discussion with? Outcome bricks, grading schemes, or question banks?
A question about the question bank.
Sure.
Questions are created, let's say, at the core level by an instructor. He exported to higher level, so for the school level, or to be recreated at the higher level.
Yeah, if you create question banks at a sub-account level, I can't think of a way that it would be that you transmit it up to the account level. Yeah, there wouldn't be a way to do that. So yeah, make sure that when you are creating the question banks, that you them at the appropriate level of sub-account, depending on what those questions are and to whom they would benefit. Thanks. All right, and Brian, how are you guys doing? Do you guys have any other questions for me?
At the moment.
How about Brian?
That was Brian.
Is there a way to a bunch of photos of portraits of people?
Yeah, absolutely. Best way to know how to do that is go to api.instructure.com. You'll find details in there. I'm going to throw you a link in the chat. I don't think I did this one before, so take a look at that link, and then go down to, which one is it? Profile? No, it's not profile. Pictures. I don't remember which one it is in here.
I found it on the users page.
Right, you're right.
Something about avatar.
Yep, no, not list avatar. Let's see. Creating user, follow user, unfollow, get user, list avatar options. Retrieve. No, I think that's it. Because that's not letting you. One more thing here. I don't think it would be under roles. I was thinking it might be under profile, but you don't know where it is. But I thank you for asking that question. That was Joe, right?
Yeah.
follow up on that with you, or follow on that for you. Yeah, API though for profile pic. Now, you guys have a database of all the student images, maybe from student IDs or something?
Yes, we do.
Okay, a lot of people who really like that new API, so I've got that on my list of things to follow up with. Anything else that I haven't answered yet that you came to get today that I wasn't able to address, that I need to make a note of?
Do with the course grade submission. It's the best for us to get those, say, in Banner or out here out of Canvas.
I think it would probably be an API call as well. You do have a grade export report that's available. Let me come back over here into our main account. So you go into settings, you have export. So not be as granular as that's another API item, I would say. There's grades, gradebook history. That's not going to be it. This is the availability within a course, Instructure to navigate to the, where does my course go? I think this is my course page. Let me come back a couple steps. So within the course, if I go to grades, there is an option within the gradebook itself for each particular course to download the scores in a format. A script that could process that might work, but see if there is an API for that as well.
I guess for now the instructors are going to have to take their grades and go enter them, I guess. There's some way we can get them, like the final grades out. That would be good.
Just the final grade?
We don't need the scores or the assignments.
Okay, you just need the final grade. I think that you'll get what you want, Josh, by coming into settings and then run the grade export report. Because that will give you all students and all their different courses. I had let me watch the screen here, and I'll get that example to show up one more time, hopefully. Grade export. So here you get Heather Smith, for example, in a programming course. All these details about the course and what her final grade is. And so the courses in which Heather was enrolled, they would show up here in this courses list. But I think the grade export report would give you what you're looking for there. But what I made in my note is I basically I'm going to follow up your implementation manager and see if they have any ideas as well for how others are doing Banner integration. Just from my not as deep of a perspective, I would say that this grade export should give you what you're looking for. Excuse me. Okay. See what it looks like. I'm just down the button. Yeah, that should give you all of your students and all the grades that they're receiving within all of the courses.
Good, thank you.
Pretty that would be another value of having the subs, right? Because all of these reports that I just showed you here can be run at your level. So then that way you're grabbing everyone's grades, or you can run it at the account level. Certain accounts are running courses at a different time, and you just want to go run your sub-account level. You can do that as well. Great.
Yep.
How are you doing? Any other questions from you for the group? All right, thanks for taking the time with me today, and I guess we will be scheduling your last training, which is the support training, within the next few days. But I may not talk to you guys again. If not, I wish you the best as you start moving forward with Canvas.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
If you can do the favor as last time for the recording, the capture, and that way I can then upload it to YouTube for extended life, then that would be great too. So.